Good evening, everyone. So my talk will be about a few of the lessons that we learned at 53 building our hardware business over the years. Quick note on our name, 53 stands for the 53 centimeters, the length of the average arm's reach that connects the head, heart, and blank canvas. It's where ideas flow, it's where people create, and it's a space that we take very, very seriously. Over the years, we've won a number of awards for our products. We're very well known for our iPad and iPhone application paper, and then our digital stylus pencil, so that launched a number of years ago. And for those that haven't seen it, actually play a really quick video here and highlight a few things. So pencil was one of the first styli for iPad, actually in the first stylus to support pen and touch at the same time. A couple innovations that introduced a simple single kiss-to-pair mechanism, palm rejection, the ability to use, as I said, fingers and inking at the same time. There's an eraser in the back if you make mistakes. And yeah, the video has introduced some nausea at times, but it's a great video. And the battery life lasts something around 3 to 6 months. It's a pretty robust design and is supported by a number of other applications, including, of course, paper. Okay, so let's jump in and come with some of the lessons. So the first thing is when you're building a company and a product, it's also that you should be building a brand. So in this presentation, I actually added one of our brand books, and I'll just walk you quickly through it so to share some of our thinking. So first is like when people hear the word brand, what does this really stand for? What is it about? Brand is a system of values, and here's how we laid those out. So the first one is we have like a strong belief that people are their best when they create. And people create within the arm's reach, right? So that's where our brand name came from, 53. Our vision is to really shape the future of creation and to celebrate the space to create. From this, it really then focuses in on the creative process, and that's sort of our domain where we do our work. And it's this brand book that has guided us over the years and kept us fresh and focused. When it comes to launching hardware products today, though, important lesson here is that you should not go and just launch a hardware product today, and this might be obvious, but it wasn't so obvious a number of years ago, but you really want to launch hardware and software at the same time. And this is actually, when you look at our go-to-market strategy, these are the components, how the entire system works together. So we have a number of channels. You have an app store where people can download paper. Paper is then a conversion point to buy pencil. Paper is also an entry point to our community. Our community also helps them promote, pencil. Our pencil comes with an SDK that other application developers use that again leads people to purchase pencil. And then when someone purchases pencil, they become a more sticky paper user. So it's a really nice virtuous cycle where hardware, software, and services work together to one, drive the adoption of the product, but also add a lot of value. Another example that I had in this particular deck is just a press kit. Press kits are really important as part of go-to-market, which a lot of people overlook, but in the presentation you'll find one of our press kits. And then it leads to good press. The other option is when you launch hardware, it's hard enough to build the product yourself, but as you launch, it's always good to have a partner along. In our case, we had a long, really, really good relationship with Apple. Paper is installed on every iPad in the stores, which means we have very wide visibility into different channels, and it's a very, very visible entry point into the paper world. Now the challenge is when you partner with a hardware manufacturer is that they might disrupt your business. In our case, Apple launched the digital stylus called Pencil, which has the same name as our pencil, but But the important thing is that that's one thing that we noticed is that every pencil needs paper. So even that Apple started selling pencils as well, it was good overall then for our brand because more and more people got exposed to the paper and pencil experience on iPad. And that also goes back to businesses, they come and go, channels, they come and go, but you have to really stay true to your brand and what you're trying to accomplish. And for us, that is really to serve the human need to create. So for us, we dug deeper and really looked at, how can we make the creative process more complete for people? And we distilled it down into 2 simple steps. People in the creative process have to make something, and they have to show it. And typically, when you show your work, you show it to a team. So we just launched a new product yesterday called Paste. So it'll work in conjunction with paper, but anything else you really want to share. And Paste is a place where people can quickly share their work and discuss that with a team. So you have some of the things you can do in Paste is truly drop any type of file, any type of images, anything into Paste. It's a web application. And it builds slides and discussion surfaces for you. So here, you can drop in images, videos, and files. So for anyone working on hardware, this is super useful because if you have a PDF document or a large image, you can just drop it in and start discussing it. Paste then auto-formats the work for you, so you don't have to spend a lot of time futzing around. You can add some context, some descriptions of what you're discussing. And it deeply integrates into Slack. So it's actually the first productivity application completely built on top of Slack. So if you have a team that you want to get involved or get onto the same page, like the pairing between Paste and Slack is really fantastic. So some of the lessons learned. This one, is really important. In this day and age, you can really, initially starting out, really truly skip retail. It's way too expensive, it's way too complicated, asks way too much cost, and it doesn't drive enough traffic for you. So I highly recommend anyone starting out today just skip physical brick and mortar retail entirely. Then design for software and hardware. This is important because it allows us to solve very complex and meaningful problems end to end. It also provides a very strong differentiator that's if you only do software, it's easy to copy. If you only do hardware, well, it's easy to copy too, but if you do both, you have a really strong differentiator. Then when you launch with at least 2 stores. One of them must be your own store, so have an online presence in which you can sell directly to consumers. And the other one is also a no-brainer, is Amazon. So, but you can't only launch on Amazon or only launch your own store. And some of the reasons is that when you do launch on Amazon, you're dependent on Amazon, things go wrong. I don't want to get into too many details, but anything that can go wrong on Amazon will go wrong, including for example, on Black Friday, your sales page showing up in Chinese, which you don't know why, but they just do. And then you have to call your support person, and maybe they change it, maybe they won't. But it's good then to fall back to your own store. The other thing is you can consider also becoming a vendor to Amazon, in particular because they have a really great Launchpad program, which works very well for startups. I can highly recommend that. Now, if you're launching a new type of product in a new category, invest in online acquisitions. No one will do a better job talking about your product and selling your product than you will. So again, it goes back to the first point on retail. Don't rely on regular retail to sell your product. They just aren't equipped to do it. You're best equipped to do it. In terms of fulfillment, work again with Amazon, the fulfilled by Amazon, but the same rule applies. You must have your own 3PL ready as well. So it's the same. You might get stop ship notices from Amazon all of a sudden with no real explanation behind it, and you want to be able to then fail over to your own 3PL. So disputes with Amazon will happen. When it works, it's amazing, but when it doesn't work, it's really terrible. So my recommendation on the fulfillment side, work with Amazon. And the last one is, as you think about international expansion, go direct first, meaning ship from the United States to other countries. That will avoid a whole host of tax and nexus issues for you, and also regulatory issues that you don't really want to deal with when you get started. That's it. Oh, this, by the way, is Paste. I should explain that. You're looking at just a quick way to review the work. I put this together this morning just by dropping in some of our marketing assets, some of our different files, adding some text, and it's ready to present. If you want to see it, there's a bit.ly link. It's also shared on my Twitter. And go give it a try, paste.50three.com. Thank you.
Very cool, thank you. Can you tell us more about the early days of the company, how you went from an idea to, especially on the hardware side, to a product? What was the prototyping and then the manufacturing and the shipping and all the things?
Yeah, so the early ideas really started with the team. So I met many of my co-founders at Microsoft, and John Harris in particular was very well familiar with building hardware products. He brought in then another product manager who had actually launched many of the Xbox accessories. And so through that, we had a very well-established network into the hardware and the manufacturing world. So in order to arrive at one pencil, we actually had 5 different variants of pencil that were fairly richly prototyped. Like the way hardware development works is you need to build programs and architectures in parallel, and then you just kill your own children. I don't know how else to describe it. It's that painful. But yeah, only one will survive in the end, but you have to build and design for redundancy. So there was charcoal, there was graphite, there was pencil, there was pen, there was all those different programs, but in the end, only pencil survived.
And then, so you decide on the pencil, then what? How do you go from a prototype to fully shipped product?
Yeah, so we actually began planning for hardware and software at the very beginning. So we first launched Paper. So in Paper, it's a sketching and writing and drawing application. We started learning about how to actually generate graphics and inks on top of, for iPad. And we built it, envisioned a hardware product that would then ship. It actually shipped 2 years later. But a lot of the interactions we kept modeling out with the various prototypes. So we had a software vehicle in market, and it was a fairly large channel. So it's millions, tens of millions of people over the years have tried Paper. So it's a great channel, but it also was a great prototyping environment then for our hardware as we were building the hardware.
So the hardware piece was manufactured in China or locally?
So a lot of prototypes were local, like the hardwoods come from the United States, and final assembly and manufacturing was in China. So that's also one of those parts. This was a good piece of advice. A lot of the components you see in pencil come from an optical mouse, the Bluetooth chips, the communication controllers. But we found a manufacturer who was selling Bluetooth mice, and they weren't doing too well in the age of mobile. So they were very welcome to take a chance on a startup. And they were able to repurpose a lot of the components they had. So that reduced cost, gave us a top quality manufacturer, and also allowed them to extend their business.
Mm-hmm. Great. What does a team look like these days in terms of hardware people versus software? I mean, it sounds like you're doing increasingly software and less hardware, right?
That's right. So today we're mainly focused on software and services. So it's the mix has shifted to mobile and service developers.
Okay, great. I want to make sure I open up to questions.
Quick question. I see that the general emphasis was on iPad. Was it like a deliberate decision to kind of focus on iOS, or is it like kind of not to do with Android? Any kind of insight on it, or is it just like a circumstances at the time?
Yeah, so we started development work in 2011, and the magical moment really came with iPad when when we realized that this is a device that's instant on, it's less than a can of Coke, it's highly reliable, right? And iPad solved a lot of really important technical problems. So for an idea capture device to work, you don't want to wait, you want a large working surface, and iPad checked all of those boxes. So when we saw iPad, we were like, okay, this is our thinking machine. And we're going to view iPad through that lens. Then iPad, in the early years did phenomenally well, but iPad is a remarkably robust device, so people ended up holding on to their iPads forever and ever and ever. So initially there was a lot of growth with iPad, then that growth slowed down quite a bit. So it didn't quite make sense for us to support more additional tablets, right? Because tablet growth on Android was never really all that there. Then now with iPad Pro, things are changing, right? Now we're seeing tremendous engagement on iPad Pro. So people are using their iPad Pros 2 to 3 times longer than they use your regular iPad. So it's a very different device. And again, you don't see something similar on Android right now.
Thanks a lot for the talk. It was very interesting. So can you say something about this moment when Apple came in and made their pencil? Did you approach says, oh, that's a crisis, or like dialing down, or like how did you work with that?
So we had been working with Apple for many years at this point, and we had asked them actually to build a stylus. So we knew that a stylus was coming. I mean, it was a surprise that they would call it pencil. But I mean, you just can't. You got to look at where's the business opportunity for you there. Around that time, we were launching Paper 3.0 on our iPhone, and so that was for us the big message. And for us, the message became every pencil needs paper, right? And so on iPhone today, if you want a pencil, you're buying our pencil. And on iPad Pro, you'd be buying Apple's pencil. So for us, like the message became about, every pencil needs paper.
Do you want to throw it?
Thank you. Very good presentation. So you mentioned that you developed the paper first. Along the way to developing the pencil, did you ever encounter, oh my God, what if the pencil doesn't work with the way we want it to work? And how do you get over that fear, that challenge?
Yeah, this could have been like the presentation, the graveyard of failed digital styli could be like a 10-hour presentation, and we have those. I mean, it's like the stuff we tried optical solutions, RF solutions, like multiple optical different designs. I mean, quantum dots we used at one point. Like, it's just like crazy stuff. We flew to like Kyoto to have like new foils developed, right? And it didn't work. Like that, but that's hardware, you just have to, you got to know as you build out your architectures, you need to have a number of horses in the race and just realize that not all of them make it. That's just, you got to plan for redundancy with hardware for sure.
Let's do it. Oh.
So with the brand book, what stage did you guys develop a brand book? Did you do that internally, or did you need? Oh, okay, this thing's getting out.
Yeah, so the brand idea started very, very early, actually, when we started the company. So that's when we started putting the brand ideas together. And now the brand book was then actually captured like this few years later. I think this was in 2013, 2014. And every year we revise that with the company, or at least we bring the chapters in the book are written as the company grows, right? So in our case, we did this internally. We have a strong philosophy that we're design and engineering led. So we always had really great, terrific brand designers at 53 from the very beginning. And I should just say, I highly recommend that approach. It simplifies hiring. It gives the company a direction. Allows you to really like weather the ups and downs as the company goes. It's like you just check it back out and you remind yourself, like, oh, what is it we're trying to do? Oh, that's right. We're saving the creative. You're serving the creative process. That's what we do, and it's a really good reminder because like a lot of things happen over the years.
Very good. So yeah, one last one here.
Speaking of the branding, one of your values was people are at their best when they create, and I was wondering if you could expand on the meaning of that a little bit, because I feel like you hear the inverse more, like people create when they're at their best. I'm just thinking because we're at WeWork, it's a nice place, the idea that kind of thing. Thanks.
Yeah, so we elaborate on that in different ways. There's another quote we borrowed from Austin Kleon, which is like, we discover who we are through making. And it's one of those things, again, it goes back to the philosophy that I just spoke about, that sometimes you have to just build stuff to throw it away later on, but the act of creating, of making, is actually when people are at their best. So it's like, I believe like this, I mean, this goes as deep as I believe the reason why we live on Earth, why we exist, is so we can shape our existence. And that is an act of creation. Living is an act of creation. You're born, and you die at one point, and the time in between is creative. And so that's what I think, like people are their best when they create, because that's when they're living a really rich and fulfilling life. So it's not something I can prove, I just believe, and I love that belief.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.